There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. The Genesis 6 narrative states that the Nephilim are on the earth in those days and also afterwards. If that's true, can we find evidence that corroborates this? I'm L.A. Marzulli. Join me as we go on the trail of the Nephilim. Hey folks, L.A. Marzulli here, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains. We'll get into something which I find incredibly interesting. I will be reading the article right here, and I hope that John Adam puts some JPEGs up on this, and we'll get into that. But first, a word from our trusted sponsor. Folks, if you're trying to navigate market turbulence, why not set course to the Noble Gold Investments Safe Haven? With global uncertainty looming, your savings and retirement plans are under siege. But there's one asset that stood the test of time, and that, my friends, is gold. Unlock the peace of mind that comes with owning gold, the ultimate safe haven. And if precious metals are new to you, Noble Gold Investments will hold your hand through the whole process. They have a team of experts who will guide you every step of the way to safety. Thousands of investors have sheltered their retirement savings with Noble Gold Investments. Don't leave yourself exposed to the markets right now. It's way too risky. With gold at an all-time high and looking to climb even further, it's the perfect time to invest. Open a Noble Gold Investments IRA and secure your future with a free gold bullion coin. Act now before it's too late. 877-646-5347, 877-646-5347, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. So here's our story today. Archaeologists uncover lost valley of cities built at least 2,500 years ago in Ecuador. Archaeologists have uncovered a cluster of lost cities in the Amazon rainforest that was home to at least 10,000 farmers around 2,000 years ago. And you'll look here on this picture of a LiDAR image, shows complexes of rectangular platforms arranged around low squares. So again, we see the idea of lots of earth is being moved. How is that done? So let's get into this. A series of earthen mounds and buried roads in Ecuador was first noticed more than 2 decades ago by archaeologist Stefan Rostain. But at the time, I wasn't sure how it all fit together, said Rostain, one of the researchers who reported on the finding Thursday in the Journal of Science. Recent mapping by laser sensor technology revealed those sites to be part of a dense network of settlements and connecting roadways tucked into the forested foothills of the Andes that lasted about 1,000 years. It was a lost valley of cities. Wow, it's unbelievable, said Rostain, who directs investigations at France's National Center for Scientific Research. It is incredible. That's what he says. The settlements were occupied by the Yupano people between around 500 BC and 300 to 600 AD, a period roughly contemporaneous with the Roman Empire in Europe, the researchers found. Residential and ceremonial buildings erected on more than 6,000 earthen mounds were surrounded by agricultural fields with drainage canals. The largest roads were 33 feet, 10 meters wide, and stretched for 6 to 12 miles. So we're looking at something that's very involved, extremely complicated, with a system of roads, drainage canals. It's civilization. Let's continue. While it's difficult to estimate population, the site was home to at least 10,000 inhabitants, and perhaps as many as 15 to 30,000 at its peak, said archaeologist Antoine Dorisson, a study co-author at the same French institute. That's comparable to the estimated population of Roman-era London, then Britain's largest city. So if you go back, let's say 2,000, 2,500 years ago to London, there's only 10,000 people living there. Of course, that's changed a lot in the last 2,500 years. So the bottom line is this is a very large, very complex city. This shows a very dense occupation and an extremely complicated society, says University of Florida archaeologist Michael Heckenberger, who was not involved in the study. For the region, it's really in a class of its own in terms of how early it is. Jose Errete, a University of Exeter archaeologist, said it would have required an elaborate system of organized labor to build the roads and thousands of earthen mounds. So there you go. So what are we really looking at here? What are we looking at? There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. How do you move that earth? Now, if you're a modern day archaeologist, you never ever go to the supernatural. That is without even saying anything. I get that. Supernatural is a no-no, don't go there. But what are we looking at? Is it possible, and this is my theory, is it possible that these fallen ones, these fallen angels come down and they give the populace certain knowledge? They're able to construct and show how to do the drainage canals. All this knowledge is handed to the populace, but they are worshipped as gods. If you've never seen the movie 10,000 BC, it's really incredibly interesting. Again, I would love to talk to the writer. And I email people, and oftentimes I get no response at all. People don't want to come on the record. People won't even answer the email, just a simple query. But when you look at the movie 10,000 BC, there is some sort of a godlike entity who's running the show, and they are building a pyramid. Of course, the god is then later killed. The bottom line is this, for me, is this. When you go to places like Teotihuacan, right next to the Pyramid of the Moon, there's a temple to Quetzalcoatl. Right there to Quetzalcoatl. And we know, just like this here, that this ancient city, that everybody just disappears. And the standard archaeological story that we get is that climate change happened, they were no longer able to sustain themselves, and everybody just vanished. We get that at Teotihuacan, Chaco Canyon, the Hopewell earth mounds up in Ohio, and all down through the Mississippi. These people just disappeared and blended into the indigenous population. Seriously, everybody does this all over the world. It's always due to climate change. Something happens, something cataclysmic or traumatic happens, and the people abandon a city like this that's very complex with drainage for the fields and road systems that are 30 feet wide. Come on. I'm not buying that for a second. Something else is going on here, in my opinion. There is a biblical precedent for this. God sends Jonah to Nehemiah. He's going to destroy the city. God already destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Is it possible that when these fallen ones come down, and I realize this is like, if an archaeologist is looking at this, he's shaking his head and go, oh my gosh, Marzulli, this is the problem. You're just a pseudo-archaeologist. Look, you can call me whatever you want, I don't care. The bottom line is let's deal with what we're looking at. You don't know. The modern day archaeologist doesn't know exactly what happened to these mysterious people. Why would they abandon the city? Why would they do that? I mean, if you were a ruler and things weren't working out, maybe you would take certain parts of them. If you were a benevolent ruler, let's say, and you were in drought or whatever due to climate change, you would go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take 4,000 or 5,000 of these people. We've already sent a scouting party out. It's quite a bit of a journey. It's about a month long away to where it's a different area in the jungle in Ecuador, which is now Ecuador. And we're going to set up a new city there to give this. So we're going to move some of the population. Okay? How many people want to do that? People raise their hands, and so 4,000 or 5,000 people go off, and it takes them a month to get there, and they rebuild. That's not what we see. And we never hear from indigenous people, oh yeah, like 1,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago, there was a group of people wandering around in the jungles of Ecuador, and they asked, can we join your tribe? You never hear that. Just like with the Hopewell Indians, you never hear, the alleged Hopewell Indians, you never hear from any Native American indigenous tribe that somehow there was this great influx of people that came into our tribe due to climate change and drought. No, what happens is that it's just, and this is the words of Native Americans who first, when the first white settler came into Ohio and looked at the Circle Mountain and the octave, who built this? Native Americans said, we don't know, it was just here when we got here. How many times do we hear this? How many times? This leads me to my theory, which I will not present here because it's too long to do. But all I can say is this, folks, that something else is going on. Something else is going on. So with that in mind, I will be speaking this Friday and Saturday at Claremont. Go to the website, lamarzulli.net. John Adam has a graphic of that. You can check it out. Go to their website. You need to get a ticket. I'll be speaking Friday night and then Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. So I'll be speaking like 3 or 4 different times. We will be doing a deep dive. We'll be talking about, of course, the Roswell UFO series, or the film Roswell, #1 and #2, exoneration and in the debris field. Roswell, #1, really set the precedent for modern day ufology. I mean, it just did. And everything was covered up and just watch the X-Files. I mean, that's the way it is handled until 2017, when Commander David Fravor shows up on Tucker Carlson and says whatever this was not from this earth. That's the first rung on the ladder of disclosure, which is the name of a book I am writing and will complete sometime in the next couple of months. Anyway, folks, you will be at Claremont. I hope to see you there. And then at the end of the month, we'll be down in Lubbock, Texas. lamarzulli.net, lamarzulli.net. Please go check it out. Sign up. Get tickets. Don't forget, all of our UFO films, all of our UFO films are now on streaming. That's streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net, and of course, you can go to the website and buy the actual DVDs. Thanks so much for watching. I just want to thank all of our subscribers that subscribe to our monthly news magazine. All of you who come here daily. Just so you know, I do 5 shows, sometimes 6 a week. So come back here tomorrow. There'll be a different show. Okay? Thanks so much for watching. Remember, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And that's why I am on the trail of the NEPHILIM. Thanks so much for watching.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible late information. Joe Wilson reports to us now from Chicago.
The Army may be getting to the bottom of all this talk about the so-called flying saucer. As a matter of fact, the 509th Atomic Bomb Group headquarters at Roswell, New Mexico, reports that it has received one of the discs which landed on a ranch outside Roswell. The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazell was the man who discovered the saucer. Colonel William Blanchard of the Roswell Air Base refuses to give details of what the flying disc looks like.